Welcome everyone to Textiles and Tea with the Handweavers Guild of America. I'm Kathy Group, I'm the advertising manager, and I'm your host today. We would like to thank the Jacksonville Weavers Guild for sponsoring Textiles today, and it's in memory of Barbara Roten and Sandy Stranahan. What a lovely way to recognize and remember your guildmates like this. Thank you so much for Jacksonville doing this. We appreciate it. We will have questions at the last 15 minutes of the session, as always. If you would, please put your questions in the Q&A and not in the chat. I can't keep an eye on the chat while I'm doing this, and I don't want to miss anybody's questions. We love your comments, those are great. So keep those coming. Today, we have Maria Sigma. Maria is an award-winning textile designer and weaver who specializes in zero-waste, ethical hand-woven textiles for interiors. She studied at the Chelsea College of Art and Design, and after graduating in 2014, she developed her own weaving practice in London. She is the author of Weaving, the Art of Sustainable Textile Creation, and she teaches weaving from waste workshops. She's collaborated with interior designers, architects, fashion designers, furniture makers, magazines, galleries, such as Susie Atkinson Interior Design Studio, Make, Hauser Wirth Somerset Gallery, and Hole and Corner magazine. She is inspired by her Greek heritage, her love for math, and craftsmanship. Maria makes vibrant but minimal contemporary textiles. She strives to decrease yarn waste, unnecessary cuts, carbon footprints, and the use of machinery, water, and electricity. By adhering to a zero-waste philosophy, she aspires to make hand weaving an even more sustainable craft. Welcome, Maria.
Hi, hello.
How are you?
Good, good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for being here today, all the way from London. We appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, our first question, and this is a good question for somebody from London, is what is your favorite tea?
Because I'm originally from Greece, not very much into tea, black tea, I mean, but I really like the one we called Louisa, which is a lemon verbena tea. It's a herb.
Well, that's great. Thank you. So if you would share with us a little bit about how you got started in fibers.
I started hand weaving about 15 years ago. No, a bit less. While I was doing my first degree in Athens, I was studying conservation of artworks, and I was specializing in textile conservation. And through that, I kind of discovered textiles and how they were made. We don't really have design schools in Greece, not that kind. I mean, not fashion design or textile design. So that was the best choice for me after school. And while I was doing my studies, I did a seminar on hand weaving, on frame hand weaving, and I just really, really liked it. And then I decided to do my second degree, so I moved into London and I did my BA in textile design, specializing in hand weaving. And that's how I kind of started my practice.
So you moved from Greece to London so you could study hand weaving?
Yes.
Now that's dedication.
It was more to study textile design and hand weaving. I mean, I could learn hand weaving techniques in Greek, but not take the full kind of education around designing as well. As I said, it's something we're lacking also. And of course, because London is a really beautiful and vivid city, and you can go find many things and you can learn many things.
That's an interesting starting point to be in restoration, to understand that part of it before you get into the actual making of it. I would imagine that really changes your perspective on anything you meet, that you understand what it would take to preserve it and keep it and repair it.
I think so, but it's not something that I can, realize. I'm very into technical things in weaving. So I think, yeah, you're right. It really kind of affect me in a way. I'm more into the techniques and the patterns than the aesthetic or the color. So yeah, it was really interesting to have that before I started weaving. We learned so much about fibers, like into detail, like with a microscope, about the chemistry of things, and yeah, very in detail.
Well, in the introduction, I mentioned the zero waste. Could you talk some more about what zero waste design entails? We did a brief introduction, but can you talk a little bit more about that if somebody's never heard of it before?
For me, at least, is something that I'm trying to apply all over the process. So from designing a piece to actually making the piece on the loom, I'm trying to combine orders in that way that I will not have much of waste or minimum I can. So it's how I actually put the orders into an order and trying to make the same warp or just small alterations into the warp so I can use it for as long as I can, so I have less cuts in the between, so tying less knots and waste less yarn.
Well, your goal is to use undyed materials in your works, and we've got some images here that show this really well. This is a beautiful piece, and there's that great contrast. I mean, there's not just light and dark, there are actually color changes. So how do you manage to do that? How do you come up with the colors that you need by not dyeing?
By using mainly wool, so natural undyed British wool and alpaca, which by itself has really beautiful colors. You can find from white ecru to dark gray and all the between. And alpaca has really nice, like kind of dusty pink, the sandstone, and a brown caramel color. So by combining these, I can have like a color palette, and then add into that cotton or linen or jute. The one I think that you saw in the weft was made by jute, so, and some cotton. So mixing up these, you're actually creating a new color. And I really like to mix up the yarns while weaving. So I'm trying to mix some different maybe grays and a darker one and something lighter while weaving. So create a new kind of shade.
The next ones we're going to show also show some wonderful textures. I love this. Now, this is the jute you were talking about, right? The one on the right?
No, this is paper yarn.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, talk some more about how important texture is for you in your work.
It is very important. I don't know to explain like why. It's just something I really like to achieve while weaving. It's really, I don't know, finding very challenging, and that's why I also really like wool because it changes a lot. So from when you're weaving something that's really flat and in tension on the loom, when you take it off and then wash it in different maybe temperatures and different ways, it shrinks differently. So the pattern will rise, or anyway, it will be very different from what you see on the loom. So the one on the right, it's a wool and raffia mix, and the other one is the same kind of pattern, just a bit different. And the one on the left, it's wool and cotton, a very thick, chunky, recycled cotton. So quite the same pattern, but just looks very different because of the different thickness of the yarn and the quality of the yarn.
The more I looked at your pieces, the more I realized that the colors are very subtle. And so I started to appreciate how the texture kind of adds to the color, that the shadowing gives it a darker shade without changing anything, right? And so I really started to pay attention to that, of how the textures, the thickness of the yarns really gave it other things besides the texture. It also gave it a color change.
Yeah, that's something I'm trying to achieve. So I'm happy that you noticed that. Yeah, it's something I really like. It's more that I like while making it. So I admire other kind of weaving techniques and qualities. I really like fine work, for example, but I'm not enjoying making it. So I don't make it any fine weavings. I'm more into chunky and textured pieces.
Oh, okay. Okay. You've talked a lot about how much you like wool, and I was reading more on your website about, like, I've used wool and I know wool, but when I read more on your website about wool, I was really struck by there's probably a lot more than I'm aware of. So can you talk a little bit more about why wool is such a great material for, at least for you, and what you're making?
As I mentioned, I really like because it changes from how it looks on the loom and how it is after you have taken off the loom and wash it, brush it. Most of my pieces, I hand brush them, so they get the fluffiness and the softness out. It also can give me, as I said, a kind of a large color palette by not adding any dyes. And also it's natural, it's antibacterial, it's fire reluctant and water reluctant. It's a really great material to work with. It's great for a warp. It has some elasticity, but it can be very strong on the same time. Comparing to cotton or linen, for example, which the elasticity is less. So it's a really brilliant material to work with. And again, you can find so many beautiful colors as they are. So for me, it's one of my most favorite warp yarns.
I know somebody's going to ask this. So do you always use wool for your warp, or do you use cotton or other things also?
Not always. It depends on the order I have, so what I'm making, but it's half, I guess. It's one of my favorite. And then I use very often mercerized cotton, the undyed version, or sometimes a dyed one, depending on what the client wants. Which again is a very strong yarn because it's slightly waxed and again gives you a bit of water repellent resistance and also a bit of shyness. So it's a really nice material for a warp as well. It's not sticky as the wool, so that's a plus.
Well, I heard you talking about the hand spun orange silk, and we're going to show this piece here. And I know it's not a big part of the work we're going to show, but I was just just struck by this. Can you talk a little bit about what is orange silk and how did you learn about it, and why did you start incorporating it into your work? And if you would point out which one is the orange silk.
On this particular piece, it's just the tiny bit on the very edge on the bottom. So the orange line on the bottom on the tassels and above the wooden rod. It's a really fine hand spun silk, which has an orange color naturally. It's from what the silkworms eat. It gets the color. So as you may know, the silk comes in not many colors, but you can find white ecru or like brown or even darker brown or a gold silk, and now an orange or red, they call it silk. It's very fine, this one, so I'm not really using it to the whole piece. You can also find it as a fleece, which is not very strong, but it's nice as a detail to add on a piece. Very, very, very soft. I find it on a shop that I kind of like to buy yarns from it. They have very nice and organic and small production yarns. So I just discovered from there.
Well, I know some about silk, but I am by far no expert. I was struck by what they eat, what the silkworm eats changes the color. I guess that makes perfect good sense, but I've never heard that before. So that's why I wanted to ask about the orange.
Yeah, I don't know what they eat, these exactly silkworms, but I know that usually silkworms that eat mulberry
Yeah.
leaves. I have no idea. I think maybe it's a secret. I'm trying to find out, but yeah, I have no idea, to be honest, about the food.
And you've talked some about being from Greece. How do you think your Greek heritage impacts, I should say not impacted, but impacts on your work?
I can't give you a clear answer. I don't know exactly how. I guess everything I have, I don't know, lived so far kind of affects me in a way. So growing up in Greece and stay until I was 24, I'm sure that somehow has affected my aesthetic and my mind and how I'm thinking and everything I have seen and lived. Also being away from home, especially in the beginning and when I'm doing my own pieces, I kind of always source back to these memories and the nature that I really like, the Greek nature and the Greek islands. But it's not a clear thing. You cannot really, I think, point from one to the other. It's quite a vague journey.
Well, when you were growing up and when you left Greece, was sustainability an issue there? Was it becoming, because it just keeps getting more and more popular and more important to people, was that an issue when you were growing up and when you left?
I think like everywhere. I mean, growing up in Athens, a big city, the biggest in Greece. So yeah, definitely. But then on the same time as many places, living in the countryside, this is something that you do anyway. I mean, you're having much less waste, but living in a city, yeah, we create a lot of waste as everywhere else, I guess. So I think it's an issue that we all facing anyway. It's not particular in Greece. London, for example, in my opinion, create even more waste, but more and more people live in London, so kind of makes sense.
I know some countries use some materials more than others. And I know in England, there's lots of sheep. Is wool the predominant fiber in Greece? Or did you find it was much more prevalent in London?
Oh, definitely in the UK.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We don't really have wool that produce sheep that produce wool that you can use on apparel or textiles. We don't really breed sheep for that. We have mainly sheep that it's gonna be for dairy or for meat in Greece. But there is a bit of wool, but it's rough, so it's more about rugs or felt, not really good for apparel. Yeah, we don't really have that production. It was bigger in the past, but not anymore.
So were you like a kid in a candy shop when you went to London and there's wool everywhere? Every kind of wool you could want?
Kind of, yes. I mean, even in the beginning, I kind of enjoyed the cold weather where I could wear woolen jumpers, where in Greece not so often. Now I'm not so keen on it anymore, but still really like to weave with wool, yes.
Yeah, living in Atlanta, it's you have to have a special kind of wool to hair. Otherwise, it's just too hot. So I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, you've said that oh, wait a minute. I want to talk about your book. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. You've written 2 books. And would you talk about the children's book, which was called Weave It, and then how it was different or the same as your second book, The Weaving the Art of Sustainable Textile Creation?
I think they're more similar than different. I mean, the difference is that the one addressed to kids and the other one to adults. So there's a bit of different aesthetic. The principles are the same. I trying to teach through photographs and projects people how to weave and give them idea, inspiration to use waste materials and what they can find maybe at home, not necessarily buy anything. So not even buy a loom or tools. You can make up your own if you don't want to spend in buying new tools and equipment. So I think they're more similar than different. And the approach is the same. Again, it's step-by-step photography. In the beginning, there is some practice and some training and try to learn how to weave. And then there are projects that you can follow step by step and get inspiration and make your own weaving pieces.
I know for some authors, they feel like they choose a topic because there's either it's lacking, the books that are out there are lacking in addressing what they want to talk about. Was that part of the issue for you? Did you feel like there was a need for a children's book that addressed some of those issues?
I think so. I mean, you can find these kind of ideas in different directions, but maybe not in one book together. It's not that I have go through every kid book, but I think that, put everything together. It's quite of a fresh idea, and the projects are very simple for kids to follow. And as I said, you don't really need to buy things. You can improvise and use what you have at home. And the idea is not to make exactly what I'm trying to sew, but get ideas and make it as you want. And you can make alterations depending on the materials you have, or your style, or your rhythm. So it's more about giving ideas and techniques, and people that can then use them as they want.
I bet teachers love that book, because teachers always use what they can find.
Yeah, that's the idea.
You have said that handcrafted goods remind us of how and why we are human. Can you expand a little bit on that and explain more what that means for you?
What I'm trying to say is that we kind of have lost the connection of making with our hands. So using the body, we are many times on a screen, on a computer or a phone, or so by making something with your hands and connect your hands and your mind, body and mind, that kind of connection and relationship, it's, I think, something that we kind of all have inside us, and it's really nice to give some time and actually do that. There are many different researches that they show that crafts like knitting and weaving, something that has a flow and it's quite repetitive, it's very therapeutic and very relaxing. So it's a great way to calm down and slow down.
Well, I like to ask some of our guests this question, and it's always funny how they react and what their idea is on this question. But what do you think is more important for you, the process of making or the product of making?
Do I have to choose? Both. I mean, I will never say just the product. Weaving is so slow. It's the process. If you don't like the process, you will never weave again. It's very, very slow. And setting up the loom, so everything you have to do before sitting down and weaving, it's even more complicated and time wasting or just slow. So definitely you need to like the process. But then, also I like the end result. Not always, but I mean, that's the goal, to make something that I like, and hopefully other people will like us too. So yeah, both.
So you do commission work, right?
Mainly, yes.
Okay. I've asked this before too. I'm always curious. What is it like when you are working on something and there's part of you saying, oh, this would look so much better if I could do this, this, and this. But the person who commissioned it is saying, no, I don't want it that way. What is that like for you?
I think I'm trying to communicate all the ideas from the beginning. So we have decided before starting weaving what we're gonna make. Most of the times they kind of trust me. I think that's they coming to me. So we discuss the ideas, and then I have some kind of freedom to propose what I want, like what I feel it's going to be better. So not many times I've been in what you described, but it's quite common that while weaving, you discover something new, or new, not like an innovation, but a different thing that you haven't done before, just not visualize it the same way. This is something that most of the time is happening while weaving. So it's just an idea for the next project to try and make it.
When you are weaving, I'm sure you have to do a design ahead of time, especially if it's for a commission. But do you always have everything drawn out before you start? Do you kind of have an idea and then go as you go? Or what is the design process like for you?
I do both. So for a commission, as you said, yeah, I need to be very detailed from the beginning. So I design everything in as much detail as I can, present the materials. And if I don't have something similar to show them, I will make a sample before I get, the final okay to start weaving. So we're very clear of what we are making. And this is something that I enjoy as well as when I'm doing pieces for an exhibition or just a new collection that I will do myself. I have a rough idea of what I'm making, and then I'm designing and deciding on the loom as well. And I'm doing both ways.
You seem to be part philosopher and part weaver. So, and I don't want to keep bringing up statements from you, but I just was really amazed about how your whole process is so thought out. And one of the things that you said, that craft calms down high-speed society. And that's such an important issue right now. People are talking about getting away from fast clothing and slowing down. So how do you, and getting back to commissions, how do you blend the need to produce pieces? You got to produce them pretty quick, right? You've got to be able to sell them and get them to the person that you're selling them to. How do you combine that to do the slow down and stay quick enough to make it, so you can sell it?
I cannot go fast. That's for sure. You cannot speed up weaving. It takes as much time as it takes. So I'm not fast, and the process itself requires slowing down, because as I said, it's not fast, it's very slow. So it's something that you have to do, which I like. So yeah, every piece takes weeks, maybe months. So it's not fast. So I'm making as many as I can. And as I said, I'm not really into fine weaving, so that's a plus comparing to doing something very fine. Maybe that's a bit of speed up in the process. But yeah, you cannot go faster. So yeah, I'm just making as many as I can in my time.
Can I talk to you some about these images that are up right now? I love these pillows on the upper left. What causes this beautiful gold? What fiber is that? The orangish, yellowish gold?
These are the mustard yellow Ariadne, I call them, cushions. And the other two, the pinky color, is the alpaca I said before. So the yellow mustard, it's a mix of many different yarns. So
really,
there's British wool, Equine grey, there is alpaca, natural alpaca again on ecru, and a brown gray color. And then there is a mix of lamb's wool and waist cashmere, and one more I think is merino wool. So the dyed yarns are 3 different, a bright yellow, a mustard yellow, and an ochre yellow, and I'm mixing them with the alpaca and the wool to create the different shades of these.
When you're making something like a pillow or something, I'm assuming, and I think you said this a while ago, is that you put on a really long warp, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, how long are your warps?
Depends. Usually it's about 15 meters, maybe 20. I think the maximum I can do with the yarn I'm using is about 25. Then it's get really bulky on the back beam, and it's not very nice. Tension can be really bad. So up to 20, I'm okay. Otherwise, I need to reset up the loom.
All right, everybody. I hope you heard that. You know, even professional weavers who do this for a living are struggling with that tension toward the end. See, it's not just us, you know, amateur weavers.
It's a tricky thing to achieve a good tension. That's, as I said, I really like wool. It's quite forgetting on that bit.
Okay. So I should know this, but I don't. Do you spin?
No.
So do you have your own sources where you have your favorite people that get your yarn for you, or?
Yeah, I'm getting my wool from the undyed British wool from Yorkshire. Is a small mill. The alpaca is coming from Cornwall, or just outside Cornwall. And then I have many different places that I get yarn. As I said, there's another shop that it brings really beautiful yarns, mainly from India. They're hand spun and very small production, fair trade and organic yarns, all natural. There's wool, but mainly plant-based yarn. So you can find nettle, pineapple, banana yarn, the silk I mentioned before, and different kind of silks. I can't remember now. There are many more. Then there is a supplier I get the recycled cotton. Jute is easy to find. I get some waste ropes that I really like to use sometimes. The paper yarn. So yeah, many different places.
Well, what's next for you?
Weaving wise, I'm now working on a commission. It's a wall piece for a hotel in Greece. And then I have 2 workshops coming up in London during London Craft Week. One is in collaboration with Create Academy. It's a UK company that they are doing online courses, and I'm doing one with them with a weaving class. It's going to be live on autumn, I think. We have recorded the session, but it's not ready yet. They have really beautiful courses, so you should check it out. And then some more orders, some commissions, but not defined yet what's coming first and what's coming second.
So go back to that class, because I know people are going to want to know about that. Tell me the name of the organization who's doing this.
It's Create Academy.
Create Academy.
I have a link in my website and on my Instagram. For now, there's only the promo page, but it's coming live on autumn, I think. And it's gonna be weaving on a frame, on make your own frame. So you can just get a frame that you have and turn it into a loom. And I'm showing you how to make a rug by using waste, like old t-shirts, on that frame.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we're going to talk we've already posted your website earlier, and then we'll talk again about your website. Way to go, Mandy. You're the best. She just posted it up there. So if you're all interested, you can learn more at her website. Well, we've got some questions. How about we jump over here and see what people are asking? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew somebody was going to ask. They want to know about the loom behind you.
So this is my loom. It's a Toika loom. It's from Finland. It's a Finnish brand. This one is computerized. There's a computer on the top there.
Mm-hmm.
A box on the computer. It's a box that connects to a laptop. And there is a pedal on the bottom. So everything is the same as the Dobby, but instead of having the pegs on the top, you load the pattern on the computer, and then by pressing the pedal, it lifts the shafts. It has 24 shafts, and it's 150 meters wide.
Now, did you learn how to use a computer like that while you were in school, or is this something you pursued once you got?
Yeah. Mainly, we had more computerized looms than not computerized looms.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, we had both. Maybe I choose more the computerized one because I was really into double cloth, double weaving, and because the pattern is very long, weaving on the Dobby with the pegs, it was really irritating and annoying. I had to change the peg system while I didn't even have finished the pattern. It was very slow, and so using computerized loom makes that much easier. You can have really long patterns, and you have better control of what you're doing.
All right, Carrie Gordon said, Maria, I love the sustainability and zero waste concept. Are you sourcing some of your wool from the heritage sheep breeds in Europe and the British Isles? She says, I love weaving with my hand spun yarn. You've talked some about it, but are they a heritage? Are they the heritage breeds or?
No, I think they're ordinary. See, because of the natural colors, I think that they picking up the fleeces that they have the right color. It's not only one kind of sheep. It's not like only merino or only lamb's wool. It kind of blends together, so you get the right brown or the right ecru or the right gray. So I don't think they're heritage sheep. Sorry.
So if I understand what you're saying, it sounds like your number one priority is the color of the wool, so that you can blend the colors to get what you need.
So the wool I'm getting is already made into a yarn. So it's, I'm getting in 2 cones.
Right.
But then I'm mixing up myself in order to create in between colors, or mixing up the wool, the ecru and the gray and the dark gray with a color yarn, so to create different shade of the color. But yeah, the color of the wool is very important. The quality, of course, but that's is coming as a base thing. That's a soft and nice yarn to use for weaving. So
now you do mostly like covers, rugs, pillows. Do you do much clothing?
No.
Okay. No. So you don't really have to get into this really soft wool, do you? You probably need more durability than soft.
Yes, but then because I'm making a lot of throws, softness is very important.
Yeah.
But that's why I really like alpaca as well. It's very soft.
Yeah.
I don't really like it for a warp yarn, but for the weft, it's amazing. And the colors are amazing. So
yeah, I'm sure all the tapestry people are nodding their heads going, because I know a lot of tapestry people do that blending to get just the right color they need. Amy Stevens wants to know, what do you do with your loom waste? She said, I personally hate loom waste, so I weave 3 to 5 items on the same warp, but each unique, to minimize the waste, but I don't have a use for the loom waste. How much loom waste do you have? What is the waste from your back beam to where you weave?
Around a meter.
Okay. All right.
maybe a bit more.
So what do you do with that? Because you
I'm
got to have some at some point.
Yeah, of course. We all have. I mean, it's necessary, and we cannot avoid that, and we don't need to feel guilty about that. I mean, the waste that we create, depending on the waste that companies create, is nothing. So
Well, that's true.
I think
That's true.
we can survive with that. I'm trying to use the tiny bits of waste I have to fill in cushions, especially for exhibition shows and photo shoots and stuff, not so much for clients. But now I have a lot, I don't need more of that. There was a period that I was giving the waste to people that they were using it for felting. That's one.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the longer piece at the back, at the end, I'm trying to make wall pieces at the end, so I can incorporate the length into tassels. So long fringes and tassels. It's not always the case, but yeah, that's one way to use the long bits.
There you go. Everybody's going to run out and start doing that now.
Hope so.
This is Kay. Kay, you've been busy today. Is most of your weaving commissioned by individuals or industry? And do you show in a gallery?
The commissions are mainly interior designers, not so much individuals. And yes, I'm showing in a couple of galleries. Currently, I think there are a few pieces in a gallery in London, Flow Gallery. And we had an exhibition back in November, but there are still some pieces that they have permanently there. There's a gallery in New York that they have some pieces, cushions, 2 wall pieces and 1 rug, if I'm not wrong. And then in autumn, there's going to be a show that I'm participating in Bruton in the UK, at Make. It's a small gallery, part of Hauser Wirth, and they're just making, they're dedicated to craft, which was one of the first places they did that in the UK.
Connie Geller wants to know, do you use hemp yarns?
Yep. Not so much because of the color. I prefer jute to hemp because of the golden color that jute gives. But yeah, I like hemp yarns a lot.
Is it easy to get?
Yes and no. I mean, it's easy to find. Yes. Now with Brexit, it's more expensive. Even to find it here in the UK or import it from Europe. But yeah, you can find hemp.
Okay. Karen LeBlanc says, I love the concept of your work. Can you talk about how you decide what warp yarn to use and what weft yarn to use? And do you recycle a lot of yarn, unraveling sweaters, reusing yarns that have been in something else?
How to decide? When I'm doing commissions, is usually I'm showing samples that I have. So we're starting from there. So they're gonna see something that I have already done. So let's say warp is done, and then we're gonna select the weft again from something I have done before most of the time. Sometimes I'm gonna try something new. But then when it's for me, I just sometimes, which is very fun to do that, I get new materials or things that I have select through the years, and I have some tiny warp or some left warp on the loom, and I'm gonna just do some sampling so I know how the yarns are when they're woven. I try different patterns and different mixes with them. So yeah, just by doing samples, sometimes, yeah, I have no idea what they're gonna look like until I actually weave them and wash them. So just by trying and see what's nice.
Well, speaking of sampling, do you sample on your Toika or do you use a frame loom?
No, I'm doing the sample on the loom. I have a table loom as well, not right
Oh.
now, but a small table loom asked
Okay.
for. But still, I prefer the big one. The tension is much better. Not on the frame though. It's going to be completely different result from the one I have. So it's going to be either at the end of a warp, or I'm just going to put a small warp just for sampling.
Mm-hmm. Somebody said 50 meters wide. That's really wide. Oh, again, somebody wants to know, what is the name of the New York gallery where you have your items again? What was the name?
The New York, it's FJ Hakimian. I don't know if I'm saying very correctly, but
Is it on your website where it's listed?
not actually, because it's quite new, and
Okay.
I'm still looking for some photos. But if they cannot get the spelling, they can email me and I can send them the link.
Okay. Is your paper yarn the same as raffia?
Yeah, this is just natural raffia. Yeah.
Okay. Do you use all alpaca in some items, or do you like the texture and color contrast you can achieve by using it with wool?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Somebody wants to know, do you use all alpaca sometimes, or do you like to mix it up with other wools?
Not all of it. So most of the times the warp will be British wool, like lamb's wool or the mix I mentioned before, and the alpaca will go into the weft. I find it that the wool warp is stronger and easier for me to work than the alpaca.
Okay. Lou Morgan wants to know, have you considered weaving rag rugs? Using old clothing and cut it up and weave it?
Yeah, it's what I'm doing in the online course mainly, but not something I'm doing into my own practice. I have made some wall pieces similar to that by using desert waste, but it's not. Yeah, I prefer the fibers and the actually fabric to weave with. So it's not very pleasant when I'm touching it. Is even I like it as an idea.
Oh, somebody just put up the name of the gallery in New York.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. FJHAKIMIAN.com.
Yeah, that's right.
And Mandy, I don't know if you can do that. Can you put that in the chat? I don't know if she can see it, but if you could do that, that would be great. Because someone says they're going to be in New York tomorrow. They want to go see it. It's up now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody else wants to know, is all of your work for the interior? Have you ever designed and made work that you could leave outdoors?
Apart from a couple of jackets that I have made, no. But I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Depending where you live, though, how much rain there is. But yeah, I mean, it's similar to all other natural fabrics. So.
All right. Sorry, I'm trying to send this out to everybody. Okay, there we go. The name of the gallery should be in chat right now. We have to stop. I can't believe it. It's been a fast hour.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you so much for being on today.
Well, thank you again for having me. It was really fun. I hope I
love to see what's. I'm sorry?
I hope I answered most of the questions.
Oh, I'm sure you did. And then some. I always tell people ahead of time, nobody wants to know cares what I'm asking. They just want to know what you have to say. So this has been wonderful. It's nice to see what's going on in the other parts of the world. That's the nice thing about Zoom, is that you can talk to people anywhere and find out what's going on over there. So thank you so much. I know the time change is kind of weird for you, but we appreciate you doing this for everybody to get to meet you. If you don't know Maria's work, please go to her website, mariasigmund.com. Some beautiful, beautiful pieces. And you have a great photographer too. I don't know who you have, but beautiful images, nicely done.
Thank you.
I want to thank again our sponsors today. It is the Jacksonville Weavers Guild in memory of Barbara Roten and Sandy Stranahan. And again, what a great way to thank people in your lives and let them know they're not forgotten, and their family. Let their family know that y'all are still thinking about them and they were important to your guild and to you. So good job, Jacksonville Weavers Guild, for doing that and sharing that with us. We appreciate it. If you would like to be a sponsor or your guild or your business, please go online to weavespindye.org and you can choose a date to sponsor, whether you want to honor someone or if you have an event coming up for your guild and you want to talk about that, just go online and you can choose the date at weavespindye.org. We have Spinning and Weaving Week coming up. Can you believe that? We're talking about it already. It's the first week of October, October the 2nd through the 8th. And we are accepting proposals for teaching Art Sparks. Art Sparks was something new we added last year and it went over really, really well. So we're doing more this year. Deadline is May 1st. Go to the website, weavespindye.org, if you want to learn more about it. Please sign up. We are eager for a variety of classes. We'd like to see more and more. So thank you. We want to thank all the people who support the programs through donations and memberships. All these classes, the Spinning and Weaving Week, the Textiles and Tea, they all happen because of the donations through the Fiber Trust and sponsorship. So thank you all for doing that. We appreciate it. We like being able to add new programming when we can do that this way. Also want to give a shout out to everybody who came Sunday to Wichita. We had a wonderful turnout, great enthusiasm. We were working on planning Convergence 2024, and we had some wonderful, energetic people who came with great ideas about classes and tours and names for the exhibits, and it was wonderful meeting you all. You gave up your Sunday, which I know was very important to a lot of us. You drove several hours. We appreciate it. It was a wonderful meeting, and it just makes me even more excited about Convergence. It's going to be a great, great place, and it's full of wonderful people. So thank you all again for doing that. If you missed any of the episodes, you can watch them again. You can watch them either through the HGA Facebook page. We also put them on YouTube if you don't want to go on Facebook. And I would encourage you to subscribe, because when you do, you'll get a notice when a new one has been uploaded. So there's a couple of ways that you can watch any of these again. Next week, we have Connie Lippert. We're excited about that. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you for being here today, and happy tea.